I used to believe that grief was the heaviest burden a person could carry, until I realized that surviving a toxic family sometimes weighs even more. My wife, Clara, had been the one person who understood the chaos I grew up in. She used to say, "You don't escape a toxic family by running. You escape by building something healthier." And she did help me build that life, until she passed away last year, leaving me with a quiet house full of memories and a heart full of unfinished conversations. The day she died, something else came with her passing, something unexpected, something hidden. A secret she had kept for years, a secret she meant for me to discover only after she was gone. And that secret is how I finally escaped my toxic family. But before that freedom, there was pain, deep, suffocating, generational pain that shaped me long before I understood it. My parents were experts at manipulation. They twisted guilt into a weapon and used it in every conversation. My father was cold and controlling. My mother was emotionally fragile and clingy. Together, they crafted a perfect storm, one that trapped me for decades. Growing up, I was never allowed to make decisions. They treated independence like betrayal. When I married Clara, they said she stole their son. When I moved out, they said I abandoned my family. When Clara got sick, they blamed me for not telling them fast enough, even though they had never shown concern in the first place. After Clara died, they escalated everything. They showed up at my house unannounced. They demanded access to Clara's belongings. They insisted I move back into their home because, according to them, I was too unstable to live alone. And because I was drowning in grief, for a moment I almost listened. But Clara had been smarter than all of us. She knew my family better than I ever wanted to admit. And she had left something behind, something addressed to me but meant to protect me. The envelope arrived 2 weeks after the funeral. No return address. Just my name written in her handwriting. Inside were 2 things. A letter, soft, warm, written with love. A small silver USB drive. Her letter started simply. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And I know you're hurting. But I also know you're in danger, not from strangers, but from the people you call family." I read the sentence again and again. Clara had always been protective, but danger? What did she mean? The next paragraph clarified everything. "I've spent years watching how they treat you. They drain you, control you, guilt you into obedience. You never saw it fully because you were raised inside the storm. But I saw it the moment I met them. I documented everything, not to expose them, but to free you." That was when I understood what the USB drive was for. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop. What I found wasn't just documentation, it was a timeline. A carefully organized archive. Clara had kept voice recordings, texts, screenshots, copies of messages, even notes from conversations. She had cataloged every moment my parents tried to isolate me from friends, sabotage our marriage, interrupt our life, insist I choose them over her, or shame me for having boundaries. At first, I was overwhelmed, almost guilty. Why had she spent years collecting evidence instead of telling me? But then the final line of the letter answered that too. "You love them too much to see the truth by force. But one day you will need proof. You will need something that cuts through the guilt they trained into you. This is for that day." That day came sooner than I expected. 3 days later, my father barged into my home again, this time furious. He claimed my mother had fainted because of stress I caused. He demanded I hand over my bank account details so he could manage things for me. When I refused, he started yelling loud enough for neighbors to hear. He said Clara's death was punishment for me turning my back on the family. He said I owed him my life, my time, and everything I owned. Something broke in me that moment. It wasn't the yelling. I had heard that my whole life. It was that Clara had predicted this exact moment. Her letter had said, "When they realize they can't control you with guilt, they will try to control you with fear." So instead of arguing, I walked away from him, went to the bedroom, and retrieved the USB drive. I returned and placed it on the table between us. "This," I said quietly, "is everything you've ever done." He froze. I explained nothing. Just the existence of the documentation made him pale. "You have no right," he began, but his voice cracked. "I have every right. I replied. "You've been controlling me my whole life. But Clara saw you. She saw everything. And she made sure I could see it too." For the first time in my life, he didn't yell. He didn't lecture. He didn't try to intimidate me. He just stood there, face stiff, eyes dark, realizing he wasn't dealing with the son he had conditioned anymore. He was dealing with someone Clara had rebuilt. He left without another word. But my mother, she was another story. She called non-stop, crying, begging, threatening, guilt-tripping, switching emotions so quickly it made my head spin. I didn't answer. I couldn't. That night, for the first time in my entire life, I blocked my parents' numbers. It felt like tearing off a part of my identity. But Clara had written one final line in her letter. "You're not losing a family, you're freeing yourself from a cage." That night, I slept without waking up in panic. I woke without checking my phone. I breathed without feeling watched. But my family wasn't finished, not even close. Because the next morning, someone knocked on my door. And when I opened it, it wasn't my parents. It was my older brother, someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. And he said something I never expected to hear. "I know about the secret Clara left you. And you need to come with me. Now." When I opened the door and saw my older brother, Daniel, standing on my porch, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked thinner, tired, and strangely nervous. Nothing like the confident, charismatic older sibling I remembered from childhood. 4 years, he had been the golden child, the one my parents praised endlessly, the one who could do no wrong. I had always assumed he enjoyed that role. I had always believed he was on their side. But now, standing there in a faded jacket with guilt in his eyes, he seemed like someone who had been running from something. Someone just as trapped as I had been. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. Something in his voice made me step aside without arguing. He walked in slowly, looking around the house with a kind of sadness. When his eyes landed on the envelope from Clara, the one I had left on the coffee table, his expression shifted. "So it's true," he murmured. "She really did it." I felt my chest tighten. "You know about the USB?" He nodded, then sat down heavily on the couch, as if every word he was about to say required effort. I didn't know exactly what she documented, but, yeah, I knew she was gathering things. She talked to me once. She said she was worried about you. Worried that Mom and Dad would tighten their grip on you after she was gone. She said you wouldn't see it coming. I was stunned. Clara had talked to him. Clara, who rarely trusted anyone from my family. Why didn't she tell me? I demanded. "Because you wouldn't have believed her," he said simply. "And because I wasn't ready to admit the truth either." He rubbed his face with both hands, breathing hard. Then he said something that turned everything I believed about him upside down. "I left the family because of them, not because of you." 4 years, our parents had claimed Daniel abandoned us, turned selfish, chose his career and friends over family. That he was ungrateful. That his absence was proof of his lack of loyalty. But the way Daniel said those words, he sounded broken, honest, afraid. "What happened?" I asked. He looked at me with eyes that held years of secrets. "They tried to control my life the same way they controlled yours," he said. "And when I didn't listen, they turned on me. Quietly at first, then viciously." He explained everything. How our father had tried to dictate which career he should choose. How our mother had used emotional blackmail every time he tried to move out. How they sabotaged his relationships, interfered with his friendships, and guilt him into giving up opportunities. How leaving had been the only way he could breathe. "But you were always the favorite," I said quietly. "That's what they wanted you to think," he replied. "Divide and conquer. Keep us from talking too deeply. Keep us competing. Keep us thinking we mattered only through them." His words hit me like a punch. I had spent years believing he didn't care about me, that he looked down on me or saw me as weak. But now I realized that distance had been a shield, not a rejection. He leaned forward. "When Clara contacted me, she said something that scared me," he continued. "She said she wasn't sure you'd survive them after she was gone. She said they would wrap you so tightly in guilt you wouldn't be able to breathe." My throat closed. Daniel, she left the USB for that exact reason. I know, he said softly. And that's why I came. They know you have it. I froze. What do you mean they know? He sighed heavily. When Dad came to your house yesterday, he wasn't expecting you to fight back. He was expecting you to crumble like always. When you didn't, that told him something had changed. Something he didn't control. He paused. And last night, Mom went through your things. What? Daniel held up both hands. She has a key. She's always had one. She used it when you were married, when you were on trips, when you were at work. Did you really think the house was empty whenever you were gone? My breath caught. Are you telling me Mom has been entering my house for years? He nodded grimly. She knew exactly where Clara kept everything. She probably saw the empty spot. She probably saw the letter. That's why she's panicking. That's why they're desperate. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from anger. Deep, fierce, overdue anger. Daniel reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small black device, a portable hard drive. This is why I came, he said. Clara backed up everything. She gave me a copy before she died. She said if anything happened to her file, I should give you this. I stared at it in disbelief. Another copy. Another lifeline she had prepared for me. She planned everything, he added softly. Even this moment. My throat tightened. For the first time since her death, the grief didn't feel like drowning, it felt like being held. But Daniel wasn't finished. You need to leave, he said. Tonight. Leave? What are you talking about? I demanded. These recordings, these files, if they realize how much Clara documented, they'll do everything to regain control. They'll twist the story. They'll manipulate people. They'll show up at your workplace. They'll drag you into court if they have to. They won't allow you to be free, not unless you put distance between you and them. I shook my head slowly. I can't just run. You're not running, he insisted. You're escaping. It was the same word Clara had used in her letter. Escape. I sat back, overwhelmed. What do you expect me to do? I whispered. Daniel took a deep breath. There's a cabin, he said. One Clara rented 2 months before she died. Under her name. But the payments, they came from my account. She wanted it off your parents' radar. She told me, he will need a safe place when it all collapses. I didn't understand then. Now I do. A cabin. Rented secretly. For me. Everything Clara had done, everything she had planned, was bigger than I ever imagined. My heart ached with love and loss. Daniel stood up and placed the hard drive in my hand. You have 1 day, he said. Then you disappear for a while. Trust me. It's the only way. But where are you going? I asked. He looked at me with tired, haunted eyes. I'm going back to warn them. Why? Because if they think I'm helping you, they'll turn on me again. And I need them to believe I'm still on their side. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're risking everything. He shook his head. No. Clara risked everything. I'm just finishing what she started. He walked to the door. Before leaving, he paused and said the last thing I expected. You were always the one worth saving. Clara knew that long before you did. And then he was gone. I stood in the quiet house, clutching the hard drive, surrounded by memories and fear and hope. I didn't know what tomorrow held. I didn't know if escape was even possible. All I knew was this. Clara had left me a secret. Daniel had delivered a warning. And my family, my toxic, manipulative, relentless family, was coming. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I wasn't tired, I was exhausted, but because every shadow, every creak in the house, every vibration of my phone made me jump. I couldn't shake the feeling that my parents were already planning their next move, that at any moment they would show up, demanding explanations, twisting reality until I questioned my own sanity again. But something was different this time. For the first time in my life, I had proof. I had Clara's testament of truth. And I had Daniel, broken, distant, complicated Daniel, showing up after years to protect me in a way no one in our family ever had. As dawn broke, I sat at the table with a cup of cold coffee, staring at the USB drive and the hard drive Daniel had given me. Together, they represented everything my parents had tried so hard to hide, the truth about themselves. And the truth about me. Clara had seen the worst of them and the best of me. She had prepared for my escape long before I ever dreamed of leaving. And now, everything was unfolding exactly as she predicted. Around 8 a.m., I received the first blow. A loud, aggressive pounding on my door. I froze. 3 knocks. Sharp, authoritative, impatient. My heart raced. I wasn't ready. I wasn't packed. I hadn't even opened the files on the hard drive yet. The pounding came again, harder this time. I forced myself to breathe and went to the window. I pulled back the curtain by the smallest inch. My father's car was in the driveway, and both of my parents were standing on the porch. My mother looked frantic, hair pulled back messily, tears already streaming. My father looked angry, stone-faced, vibrating with controlled rage. They were exactly as I remembered. I stepped away from the window, my chest tightening. I didn't want to face them, not now, not ever. But they were not the type of people who left willingly. If I didn't do something, they would break in or call the police claiming I was suicidal or unstable. They had done things like that before, to Daniel. I grabbed my phone and texted him. "They're here." The reply came instantly. "Do not open the door." But it was too late. My father's voice echoed through the door. "Open this door right now. We know you're in there." My mother added, sobbing, "Sweetheart, please, we're worried about you. We need to talk." Worried about me. They didn't know the meaning of the word. But the dangerous part wasn't what they said, it was the way they said it. Soft, pleading, loving, like they cared. That tone had controlled me for decades. That tone had always cracked my defenses. Not today. I stayed silent. My father slammed his fist against the door. "We know about the files. We know she filled your head with lies. You listen to me. Clara was sick. She wasn't thinking straight. She wanted to turn you against your family." My blood boiled. Clara wasn't here to defend herself, but her secret was. I moved quietly toward the back of the house. The cabin key Daniel had given me was in my pocket. I grabbed the bag I kept by the bed, just in case, and slipped out the back door. My parents were still at the front, still shouting, still trying to break through the only barrier I had left in that house. I got into my car, heart pounding, and drove away silently. I didn't look back. 15 minutes later, I pulled into an empty parking lot behind an old hardware store and called Daniel. He answered on the first ring. "Where are you?" he asked. I got out. "They're still at the house." "Good. They won't leave for a while. They'll think you're hiding inside trying to punish them. They'll keep acting emotional and dramatic because they think that's how they control you." I closed my eyes. "What do I do now?" "You go to the cabin," he said. "I'll delay them as much as I can." "Daniel, what exactly is this cabin? Why did Clara set it up?" He hesitated. "It's not just a hideout," he said finally. "It's a place where she kept the rest of her recordings." A chill ran through me. "The rest?" "Yes. She knew they'd look for the USB. She knew everything in your house would be compromised eventually. So she stored the majority of her evidence in a safe place. She wanted you to see all of it, but only when you were ready." I swallowed hard. Ready? I wasn't sure I was ready for anything. "What's in the recordings?" I whispered. "Truth," Daniel said. "About her. About them. About you." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Is it bad?" "It's worse than you think," he said. "But it's also everything you need to finally be free." He gave me the address, told me which road to take, told me what to expect. Then he hesitated. "And one more thing," he said quietly. "Mom and Dad aren't the only people who don't want you seeing those recordings." "What do you mean?" "There are relatives, family, friends, people who owe Dad favors. If they get even a hint that you're trying to expose anything, they'll get involved. Not physically, But socially, legally, they will gaslight you until you collapse, until you come running back. I felt a cold shiver down my spine. This wasn't just about my parents. This was about an entire system they had built. "I'll handle it," I said. My voice shook, but I meant it. Daniel sighed. "Drive carefully. Call me when you get there." We hung up. The drive to the cabin took 2 hours. The farther I got from the city, the lighter I felt. Like every mile peeled away a layer of fear, a layer of guilt, a layer of lies I had been taught to believe. The cabin sat near a lake, hidden behind tall pines. Small, quiet, peaceful, exactly the opposite of the chaos I came from. When I unlocked the door and stepped inside, something warm and painful spread through my chest. Clara had been here. Her scent still lingered faintly, a mix of vanilla and lavender. The blanket on the couch was one she used to wrap around herself on cold nights. A mug sat on the shelf with her favorite crescent moon design. Beyond the small living area was a locked drawer. A drawer Daniel told me about. A drawer Clara had filled with the truth. My hands trembled as I found the key taped underneath the table. I unlocked the drawer and found a stack of journals, labeled by year. Videotapes. Memory cards. Printed transcripts. And on top of everything, a letter addressed to me. The second letter. I sat down on the couch, holding the envelope with a shaking hand. Her handwriting looked softer, older, maybe written on a day she felt weaker. I opened it slowly. "If you're reading this, you finally escaped. And now you're ready to learn the one secret I couldn't tell you when I was alive." My heart stopped. The truth about your family, and the truth about me. And that was where the letter ended on the first page. My entire world tilted. What truth? What had she been hiding? What had she discovered? And why did she say the secret was about both her and my family? Before I could turn the page, my phone buzzed violently. It was Daniel. 3 words. "They're coming for you." Daniel's message froze every muscle in my body. "They're coming for you." 3 words. 3 warnings. 3 seconds before the fear hit me like a storm. I stood up so fast the couch shifted behind me. My pulse hammered in my ears as I scanned the cabin through Clara's eyes. What had she expected me to do now? Hide, run, fight back, or finally face everything she'd prepared me for? I called Daniel immediately. He answered on the first ring, voice tense and breathless. "Listen carefully," he said. "They know you're gone. They know you didn't answer. They found the empty bag in the bedroom. Dad is furious. Mom is hysterical. They think someone influenced you, me, or Clara's files, or both." "How long until they reach here?" I asked. "Maybe an hour. Maybe less." My chest tightened. "What do they want?" "To break you," he said bluntly. "To make you feel guilty. To pin everything on Clara. To convince you you're unstable and need them." His voice cracked slightly. "They've done it before. They'll do it again. So what do?" I whispered. "You finish what Clara started," he said. "You read that letter. You watch the recordings. You learn the truth. And then, when they get there, you won't let them rewrite your reality." I swallowed hard. "Daniel, why are you helping me like this?" His answer was soft and simple. "Because I wish someone had helped me when I escaped." And then he said something that hit me deeper than anything else. "You deserved the truth your whole life. Now take it." The call ended. I returned to the couch, hands trembling, and unfolded Clara's letter. The second page waited like a doorway I feared to open, but had to cross. Her handwriting flowed gently across the paper. "The truth about your family begins long before you were born. Before me. Before even Daniel. Your parents didn't become controlling. They were raised by control. They think manipulation is love. They think guilt is connection. They think ownership is parenting." I read every line slowly. "But there's something more. Something I discovered when I was pregnant." My heart stopped. "I never told you, because I didn't want to hurt you. But your mother contacted me behind your back. Multiple times." I felt the world sway. She told me that if I ever took you away from them, she would make sure I regretted it. She said I was replacing her. She said I was stealing her son. She said your loyalty belonged to her, not me. My stomach twisted. At first, I thought she was just emotional. But then she started showing up at our apartment when you weren't home, leaving notes, calling my workplace, telling people I wasn't good for you. A cold, sickening rage crawled through me. When I got pregnant, it got worse. She said she would raise the baby properly, because you were too soft and I was too independent. She tried to convince you that I was mentally unstable. My hands shook violently now. And then, I lost the baby. I froze. The world dimmed. I stared at the words, unable to breathe. The doctors said it was stress-related. They said I had been under too much pressure. And I was. Because I was afraid of losing you. Afraid of losing our child. Afraid your parents would destroy our life before it even began. Tears blurred the ink on the page. Clara had been pregnant. Clara had suffered in silence. Clara had lost the baby because of them. My parents. Their lies. Their manipulation. Their cruelty. All of it cost us a life we never even got to hold. I pressed the letter to my chest and sobbed. For Clara, for the child we lost, for the years stolen from us by people who claimed to love me. But the letter wasn't finished. I didn't tell you because I knew you would blame yourself. And because I needed you to heal first. Not through anger, through truth. The evidence I gathered isn't for revenge. It's so you finally see who they are. So you break the cycle. So you live. She ended with a sentence that shattered me completely. I'm leaving you my truth so you can build the life we couldn't. I wiped my face, stood up, and opened the drawer further. Inside were labeled drives. Manipulation patterns. Year 1. Boundary violations. Year 2. Harassment. Year 3. Pregnancy period. And at the bottom, final compilation, for his freedom. I clicked the last one into the laptop. What played was Clara's face, tired but strong, sick but fierce, loving but broken in places she tried to hide. Her voice filled the cabin. If you're watching this, I'm gone. But I need you to know something. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not responsible for their actions. Her eyes softened. I loved you because you had a heart big enough to forgive anyone. But that heart deserves protection too. And this, she held up the USB drive, is your shield. The recording ended with a whisper. Run. Live. Be free. And someday, forgive yourself. I closed the laptop, breathing shakily. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of my parents arriving. I was ready. And then it happened. Tires on gravel. Voices outside. My mother's cry, sharp and panicked. Open the door. We know you're in there. We just want to talk. My father's voice, cold and commanding. You will not ignore us. They pounded on the cabin door. I didn't hide. I didn't run. I opened it. They stood there, shocked, desperate, manipulative, exactly as Clara had described them. But this time, I wasn't their child. I wasn't their puppet. I wasn't their emotional hostage. I looked my father in the eyes. I know everything. He blinked. Everything. Yes, I said calmly. And I'm done. They tried denial, tears, screaming, guilt, threats, but none of it touched me anymore. Clara had broken their hold on me long before they arrived. When I closed the door on them, it wasn't an act of rebellion, it was an act of survival. They kept shouting for a while. Then their voices faded. Their car started. And they left. I sat on the cabin floor, watching sunlight filter through the window. For the first time since Clara died, I didn't feel empty. I felt free. Truly, completely free. Clara had saved me with her secret. Daniel had protected me with his warning. And I had finally done what they both wanted. I escaped my toxic family. Not by running. By seeing the truth. By choosing myself. By choosing the life Clara wanted me to have.